I did want to get into a little bit about the play-in games.
I want to hear it now. Oh, we got to.
Last night's games were cool. They were fun. They were great, right?
They were playoff basketball to me. But
well, they weren't, but they're play-in basketball.
In your world.
And let me just be clear. I'm not against the play-in. I'm against the 3 months before the play-in. Man. That's what I don't like.
There's no cure.
Yes, there is.
Is this JD or you?
This is me.
All right, give it to us.
One of the cures for this is to break the season into halves, like baseball did the year of the strike. First 41 games are measured, then the second 41 games are measured. If you go 30-11 the first 41 games and you finish second or third in your conference, that translates to the second that matters. Like, you get credit for that. You make the playoffs for that. Then you have a second part of the season.
All right.
There's a lot of machinations that would have
What if you go 11-30 in the second half?
Then you're probably going to be a lower seed, but it's going to make the first 40 games more important. Because because I think if you go 30-11 in the front, you make you're in the playoffs. Okay. Then you go 30-11 in the second half, then you're the number one seed with a bye. That's the other thing. My thing's going to have buys. My thing's going to be a weighted tournament.
Man. Because whatever they're talking about, this midseason tournament.
Like, a lot of colleges do that. So let's say or back in the day, what's St. Mary's in, Evan?
WCC.
Yeah. West Coast Conference.
West Coast Conference. You go, you play every team home and away. You'd obviously have to finagle stuff with the NBA schedule. But you play a first half of the season. They go 8-0. They win the first half. They play the second half. They lose 3 games. They go 5-3. Okay, who won the second? Who went 8-0? Gonzaga. Well, guess what? St. Mary's went 8-0 in the first. Gonzaga went 8-0 in the second. That's the championship.
But how do you get past teams knowing where they're kind of at?
You don't.
Well, because if we know we're 30-11 in the first half, now we're 20-9,
right?
You can kind of do that for every team. So you kind of you know what I mean?
No, I don't. If you go,
what changes that? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, my point is, if there'll be a race, kind of, to 41.
Oh,
there'll be 2 seasons. There'll be essentially 2 seasons, and then you're gonna have to balance those 2 seasons and figure out a way then to seed. But if you go 30-11, then it starts over at 0-0.
I got
you're gonna make
no doubt.
That'll get you into the playoffs. Now, did you go 11-30 the second half? Well, that's going to make your seed lower. But if you go 30-11 and 30-11, then you're going to be the number 1 seed, and you're going to have a bye too. I know it's complicated.
Well, I'll say this:
I want the weighted tournament seedings like St. Mary's has. Like, if you win the regular season, you don't have to, the Scribinis have to play until round 3.
Well, I'll say this about
Get
the
back
NBA.
to some 5-game series.
Steiny,
that would also help.
This was some BS because we know what Dallas did, but I thought the whole idea for the play-in tournament was to make the games more exciting. And just this year, I felt like we saw more teams do a middle finger to the league on when they're going to play because they knew what it was before the result of the game. What can we do to keep that urgency on 1,000? Because this was bad. Games that mattered, teams sat their stars, and they had their reasons, and I just don't think the NBA or Adam Silver can fix that.
See, what the NBA has done,
because you're always going to say, how does it benefit us?
Is they've NCAAized the NBA now, all right? It's a 30-game schedule, essentially.
Yeah.
And I said this on Twitter. The bottom line is there's no urgency for the first 3 or 4 months. The reality is for any team. So you know what really happens? You go through 50 games, and you look at your record, and then you say, all right, what do we want to do these last 30 games? It's
I got to give you something to that.
There's just no urgency the first 3 or 4 months of the season.
What about last year's Warrior team that started 18-2?
Right, that's
for
one
them?
team because they wanted to prove something.
And then what about SAC this year? That took to get off to that
you're talking
good
about
start.
one team.
Well, two, but
one team a year. And both those are, like, I'm not saying there aren't teams that take it seriously, but most of them don't. How seriously do the Warriors take this regular season? How about the Lakers? How about the Mavericks?
How about Denver? They took I didn't like the way they finished in regard to who was playing.
Denver took it seriously 75% of the time.
They earned number one, but it was gross how they haven't played a meaningful basketball game in forever. But again, you got the number one seed, but damn, I just don't know how you. I hear you, man.
To me, it's not about the number one seeds. It's about the glut we saw in the Western Conference from a bunch of teams that didn't really play with any urgency because they didn't have to, because they were all bunched up for 6 spots. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So are you in favor of getting, somebody just said it on the text line, would you be mad if would you miss the play-in if they just went back to straight 8?
This is always going to be a problem as long as they have 82 games and don't really try something different.
So when I was watching the NBA on the finals on tape delay, Washington and Seattle, downtown Freddie Brown, Gus Williams, what was it? It was 65 games? Like, is it 82, and then what was it before 82?
It was always 82.
Oh, so why are these people thinking it's going to be condensed or go down?
It's not.